Welcome, race fans, to Pump the Brakes. The one, the only, the Cadillac of Formula One podcasts. I am your host, the Pit Lane Patriot. This week, Formula One has returned from its August break, and we are headed to Dutch country, Zandvoort, for the Dutch Grand Prix. And we are going to talk all about it. Let's go. Finally, the factories are back awake. The drivers are back in the paddock. The helmets are back on. The social media vacation posts are over. And Formula One is rolling into Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. And not just any Dutch Grand Prix. This is the final Dutch Grand Prix, at least for a while. So right away, this weekend has a little extra emotion attached to it. Zandvoort came back on the calendar in 2021. It gave us the Wall of Orange. It gave Max Verstappen a home race, banked corners, seaside chaos, qualifying tension, and one of the most unique atmospheres in all of Formula One. And now, at least for now, this is the last dance. So we have a track with emotion, a home hero who's still looking for his first win of the season, a championship fight that's not exactly where everyone expected it to be, and a sprint weekend that gives everybody less time to get comfortable. That's a lot. And that's before we even get to Cadillac. We will get to Cadillac, believe me. We are absolutely going to get to Cadillac. We have a new team principal who I am naming Coach Bud, and we have expectations to talk about. But before we put our expectations on Coach Bud and Cadillac, let's talk about the Dutch Grand Prix.
The Dutch Grand Prix is underway. Piastri holds the lead. Max Verstappen sweeps around the outside of one McLaren. It won't be two because Piastri had to give him the chop. Max Verstappen went all in to take P2 and he got it. That is what...
So the Dutch Grand Prix is held at Circuit Zandvoort, which is a 4.2 kilometer track, 72 laps on a Sunday, tucked into dunes near the North Sea. Pretty narrow, it's quick, it's old school. It's not a place where you can just casually show up and figure it out over the course of the weekend. And that matters even more because this is a sprint weekend, which means, as we know, only one practice session, and then immediately into sprint qualifying. And then the sprint, then Grand Prix qualifying, then the race. So if you're a team with a stable car, a strong baseline, and drivers who can get on top of things quickly, this format can reward you. But if you're a team still searching, still adjusting, still fighting reliability, still trying to understand upgrades, this format can really punish you. There's no long Friday to experiment. There's no leisurely setup journey. You cannot spend 3 sessions saying, okay, maybe we try this wing level, maybe we adjust this mechanical balance, maybe we see what happens on this type of run. No. Zandvoort said, here's one practice session, good luck. This is why this weekend is such a fascinating reset after the summer break. Because every team is coming out of the break with ideas. Every team has had time to review the first half of the season. Every team has had time to ask, what are we? What are we good at? Or what are we missing? What do we need to fix before the final stretch? But Zandvoort does not give you a gentle landing. This track immediately asks, do you trust your car? Because the circuit is all rhythm. Fast changes of direction, banking, commitment corners that flow into each other. A lap where if the driver's confident, the car looks alive, but if the driver's fighting it, the whole lap looks miserable. And overtaking, not easy at all. This is one of the biggest things to watch. Since Zandvoort came back to the calendar, qualifying has been king. Track position matters here. Clean air matters. Getting the lap right on Saturday matters. Or in this case for the sprint, Friday as well. You do not want to be starting out of position at this place because if you are, Sunday can be very frustrating very quickly. And that puts a huge spotlight on qualifying. And again, with the sprint format, it puts the spotlight on qualifying and sprint qualifying. And for a lot of teams, this weekend is going to be about whether they can hit the ground running in those qualifying sessions. Okay, now for the headline driver, Max Verstappen. This is his home race. It's probably the last Dutch Grand Prix for a while. And somehow, despite the season he's had, despite all the podiums, despite all the fighting, despite the fact that he is still very much Max Verstappen, he is still looking for his first win of 2026. Feels kind of weird. Max Verstappen, no wins yet this year. I mean, he's been on the podium at Zandvoort pretty much every single time since his return. 3 wins, 2 second places. The man owns this place emotionally, even when he does not own it on the timesheet. So if there's ever a weekend where the story writes itself, this is it. Final Dutch Grand Prix, Orange Army, sprint weekend. Verstappen still hunting win number 1 of the season. Red Bull is trying to make a statement after a first half where they have not looked like the dominant force that we got used to seeing. And then we add the extra Red Bull twist. Isaac Hadjar is out with a wrist injury. Liam Lawson steps up into the Red Bull seat, and Yuki Tsunoda comes back into the Racing Bull. It's a lot of movement for one weekend. And I feel bad for Isaac Hadjar because nobody wants to miss a race through injury, especially when he's been putting together a really strong season so far. But for Lawson, this is a massive opportunity. Short notice, high pressure, sprint weekend, next to Verstappen at Zandvoort. It's not exactly easing into the pool. This is being thrown directly into the ocean. But that's Formula One. Opportunity does not always show up when you're comfortable. So Red Bull is a major story. The championship story still starts with Mercedes. Kimi Antonelli leads the championship. Lewis Hamilton chasing. George Russell, my boy, still in the mix, but he needs the second half to start turning his way fast. And Mercedes has honestly been the team of the season so far. They won the first 6 races. They've won 8 of the first 11. They've been on the pole at almost every Grand Prix. This team came into 2026 ready for new regulations, and for a while, it looked like the rest of the grid was just trying to survive the wave. And before the break, things got interesting. In those last 5 races, there were 5 different winners. Hamilton, Russell, Leclerc, Antonelli, Norris. That tells us the pack is closing. Mercedes still has an advantage, but it does not feel like the season is frozen anymore. It feels like the second half could get spicy. That's exactly what we want. For Antonelli, this is about control. He has the lead, he has the car, he has the momentum of a driver who has already won 6 races in his second season, which is absolutely ridiculous. But now comes the hard part, protecting the lead when everyone else had the summer break to study you. For Hamilton, this is about pressure. He has the experience, he has the Ferrari badge. He's got that first Ferrari win earlier in the season. Now he has to turn this from great story into a real title fight. And for George Russell, you already know I'm watching George. You already know I'm still believing in George. But he needs to show results. The first half of the season had strong moments, including wins. But if he wants to get back into the heart of this championship fight, Zandvoort cannot be solid. He's got to start making ground. I really hope he wins that race. And then there's Ferrari. Ferrari's fascinating because they have 2 drivers who can win races. But the question is whether they can keep putting complete weekends together. Leclerc won in Britain, Hamilton won in Barcelona. There's pace there. There's quality there. There's belief there. But can Ferrari avoid the Ferrari things? That's always the question. And Zandvoort will test them because this track is where qualifying, tire management, and clean execution matters so much. If Ferrari's sharp, they can be dangerous. If Ferrari gets messy, this place will expose them. McLaren's another team I have circled. They won the last 2 Dutch Grand Prix. Norris in 2024, Piastri in 2025. Norris is coming off the win in Hungary. Piastri is still searching for that next big result, which seems to be right around the corner. And McLaren is reportedly bringing the second part to an upgrade package that they introduced before the break. So don't sleep on McLaren. This might not be a championship leading team right now, but they're absolutely a team that can ruin somebody's weekend. And at a track where the last 2 winners came from McLaren, you have to take them seriously. Then there's Aston Martin, with Honda bringing an upgraded engine after the new chassis was upgraded in Hungary. This is another little subplot to watch, especially because it's a sprint weekend, which gives them almost no time to iron things out. If the package works right away, could be interesting. If there's gremlins, the weekend could be ugly fast. And that's kind of the whole theme of Zandvoort. There's no hiding. If your car's confident, Zandvoort makes you look like a hero. If your car's nervous, Zandvoort makes you look like you're fighting for your life. If your team's organized, the sprint format gives you opportunities. If your team's disorganized, the sprint format turns into a stress test. And if you're a driver who needs a statement result, this track gives you the one chance to put the lap together and say, here I am. This is why I love this weekend as the first race back. It's not a normal reset. It's not some big, wide open track where everybody has time to breathe. It's tight, tense, emotional. It's the final Dutch Grand Prix. And it's happening in front of the Orange Army, with Max Verstappen trying to finally get win number 1 of the season. It's theater. And Formula One is always better when there's theater. So before we get to Cadillac, before we talk about newly appointed Coach Bud, before we talk about what I expect from this team now that they've made the move, I want to give my race predictions, because this one's tough. The heart says one thing, standings say another, friends say another. But me, this is how I see the Dutch Grand Prix playing out.
Whoa! Problem. He's breaking down! He's breaking down! Kimi Antonelli had passed his teammate, but he will not finish the Grand Prix. And Antonelli's Grand Prix is run. His winning run comes to an end.
But first, quick shout out, Marcus, my English friend. Thank you for your inspiration, because I used your prediction to come up with my own prediction for this week's F1 race in Zandvoort. So this week, my hope for the Grand Prix is a win from George Russell. I really, really hope George Russell wins. I absolutely believe he can. I think that if George Russell shows he has the skill and he's come back strong, this could definitely be a place where he could get at least 7 points off of Kimi. So George Russell winning this race is my hope. Now, my prediction for the race, ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts. My prediction is George Russell will not be on the podium. George Russell will finish in 4th. Your podium will be in 3rd. You will have Charles Leclerc. I believe Charles Leclerc, fantastic driver. I think this is a track where Ferrari can do well. I am banking on them doing well with my prediction. Charles Leclerc in third. In second place, because he is inching towards his first win of the season, and this is his home race, I have Max Verstappen. I believe Max Verstappen is going to come in and qualify fantastically. He may even take a pole, but I just don't think the pace is there really in that Red Bull car, especially given that they had no ADWO upgrades, which is additional development upgrades during the season. They got none because the FIA determined that they had the best engine. So because they couldn't do much upgrading, I think Max Verstappen is going to have a great race, but it's going to put him in second. And in first, winning the race is not who you might be thinking. The winner of the Dutch Grand Prix for 2026, the final Dutch Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton. As I said, with my prediction for this podium, I am banking on Ferrari coming out swinging in this race. Ferrari knows they're closing in on Mercedes. They are ready to race. I believe both cars are going to perform top notch, and the only reason they don't score a 1-2 is because this is Max Verstappen's weekend. This is his home race, his Orange Army. So the best driver will be Max Verstappen, but the winner will be Lewis Hamilton. So fourth, George Russell. Third, Charles Leclerc. Second, Max Verstappen. First, Lewis Hamilton. So the question remains, where's Kimi? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe Kimi Antonelli is going to DNF. I have every reason to believe that Kimi Antonelli is mishandling his car. And it's fine because he is in his second season. That's totally normal. But I believe this is the kind of track that requires you to manage your tires, watch your strategy, manage so many things at once. And he's going to have Lewis right behind him. And all that pressure together is going to make him overdrive his car, and he will not finish the race. He'll lead, but he won't finish the race. Lewis Hamilton will end up winning. Max in second. Charles will be more than happy about the DNF by Kimi because it'll push him up to the podium. And unfortunately, Russell will fall even further in this championship fight. But not further from Kimi. So he's still got Lewis to worry about. Now, again, I hope George Russell wins this race. So I hope my prediction is totally wrong. I hope it is Russell in first. And I hope Lewis comes in second. And Max is on the podium because it's his home race. That's my hope, not my prediction. Now, last but not least, let's talk Team Cadillac.
My current obsession at the moment is Formula One cars, especially Cadillac Formula One cars. They're amazing.
Now let's talk Cadillac, because this is the first race weekend of the Coach Bud era. Because yes, I am calling him Coach Bud. Marcin Budkowski is the official name. Coach Bud is the pump the brakes name. And listen, if this podcast ever takes off and that nickname sticks somewhere in the Cadillac F1 history, I am absolutely taking credit. Coach Bud, trademark, the Pit Lane Patriot. But joking aside, I want to be very clear about my position here. I'm not against Coach Bud. I'm not sitting here saying that Marcin Budkowski is a bad choice. Actually, on paper, I can see the logic. This is a serious Formula One operation. Ferrari, McLaren, the FIA, Renault, Alpine. That's his resume. It's a real resume. So if Cadillac looked at the team and said, we need someone with more technical, organizational, F1 specific experience for the next phase, I understand the argument. Coach Bud might be great for us. I really mean that. But two things can be true at the same time. Marcin Budkowski can be a good appointment, and Graeme Lowdon can still have been done dirty. Because Graeme Lowdon was not just some guy holding the clipboard. Graeme Lowdon helped make this team real. He was part of taking Cadillac from an idea to a political fight to an accepted entry to an actual Formula One team on the grid, which matters. Thank you, Graeme. And when you help build something from scratch, when you put in that kind of work, when you are the face of the build phase, it feels cold to get moved aside 6 months into year one. Especially when the team says this is a planned leadership transition, and then Dan says that it was his decision, it wasn't mutual. I mean, come on. Those things don't feel like the same sentence. Planned leadership transition, calm. Not mutual sounds like my man just got fired. And this is where the fan in me says, okay, Cadillac, you made a move. It wasn't me. You raised the standard, not me. And before this happened, my expectations were simple. Survive year one, collect data, build habit, get Perez and Bottas across the finish, find reliability, learn how to operate as a Formula One team, and don't panic. But Cadillac, you did panic. Or at least they made a move that looks like panic from my point of view. So now what I want is results. And when I say results, I'm not saying Coach Bud needs to show up at Zandvoort, snap his fingers, and put Cadillac into the points. That's ridiculous. He did not design this car. He did not create the problems overnight, and he's not going to fix them overnight. But I want evidence. I want a clean Friday. And with this being a sprint weekend, That matters even more because there's only one practice session. You can't waste it. I want both cars going through the weekend without the same reliability problems showing up again and again. No same mistake repeats. I want a race where Perez and Bottas are not just surviving for 5 laps and then parking the car. I want communication to be calm. I want strategy to make sense. I want the team to look organized. I want Cadillac to leave Zandvoort with data, direction, and some sign that this leadership change had a purpose beyond just making a headline. That is now the standard. Because when you fire the builder and bring in the fixer, fans are allowed to ask what is getting fixed. And Zandvoort's not an easy place to start. This is narrow, fast, emotional. It's a sprint weekend. There's no hiding. If the car's nervous, it'll show. If the operation's sloppy, it'll show. If the team's not ready, Zandvoort will expose it. But that also makes it a great first test for Coach Bud. Not because I expect miracles, because I expect signs. Signs that the garage is calmer, signs that the team is sharper, signs that the second half of the season is not just going to be the more of the same. So here's where I land. Again, thank you, Graeme Lowdon. Seriously, you helped build the foundation, and Cadillac fans should not forget that. And welcome, Coach Bud. I'm open-minded. I'm rooting for you. I gave you a nickname. I can absolutely see why Cadillac thinks you might be the guy for the next phase. But Cadillac made this decision. Cadillac changed the conversation. Cadillac told us performance matters now. So at Zandvoort, I don't need points, but I do need proof of life. And there you have it, folks. That is your Dutch Grand Prix preview. Join us next week, where we will go over all of the events that occur at Zandvoort in the Dutch Grand Prix. See you then.